Hey there, Heather Gray here, aka the Lime Boss. And are you a frustrated professional who's tried everything but you still have embarrassing gut issues, horrible brain fog, chronic widespread pain, and no gas in the tank to get life done? Could it be undiagnosed Lyme? It was for me, and I'm here to help guide you on to get to the root cause of your issues so that you can get back to living an energetic, productive, joy-filled life. I wanted to take a little chat with you today on some of the steps that I take on a daily basis to help keep myself running on all cylinders. I found that a lot of folks with chronic illness have a tendency to be a little on the type A personality. We burn the candle at both ends. We're juggling a lot of different things, and that causes a lot of stress and anxiety and wear and tear on our body. And when we get out of the rhythms of nature, get out of the rhythms of how people are, kind of really set up to live and exist, that's when we really start to get into trouble. Beautiful things happen when we slow down and get back to the basics. And so that's why I'm teaching so much on the foundations of health and the basics. And I just wanted to give you some steps, basic steps that when you put into place, little steps every day add up to big wins. And sometimes it can take a year or 2 years to get all these steps into place. And that's fine. You just have to start by taking the first step. First off, I start my day off with gratitude, right? It helps bring my body into coherence. And when your brain and your heart and your body is all in coherence, it's like a symphony, right? If you've got the string section playing something different than the percussion and they're not in coherence, right? That sounds not so great, and it doesn't make beautiful music, right? So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for coherence. And so I'll also meditate at this time just to really make sure that I start my day off on the right foot. I don't know about you, but I used to start off the day with immediately, the minute my eyes opened, I was worrying and thinking about my to-do list, which would make my cortisol skyrocket, right? Which would make it harder for me to lose weight, anxiety through the roof. Keeping in that perpetual, too much cortisol is kind of like poison to the body, adrenaline. It gets poisonous to the body after it's too much, being in that fight or flight response. So then I'll journal too. And the beautiful thing about journaling, it's actually one of the few places that I can put my true thoughts and feelings down. Not sugarcoating it, not because I'm worried about who's going to read it or what they're going to think of me, blah, blah, blah. It's like one of the places that I can actually be real of, because a lot of times people who don't have a chronic illness don't understand how hard this can be, right? And some of the dark thoughts that go on in our brains. And we don't want to be labeled as crazy. We don't want to be judged. So what else can you do with that, right? Besides put it down on paper. A dear friend of mine who's an amazing astrologer, but she told me, she's like, journaling is going to be your thing this year. That's really going to help me tap into my intuition more. And she's like, not just about all the good stuff. Well, today, this is what happened, or this is what I'm hoping for, or, even intentions. I want you to put all the nasty, ugly stuff down too. And it's been amazing how it's just kind of taken a load off my body, off my brain, off, burden off my soul, right? Just being able to get it down on paper and then shut the book. Okay. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to feel what it is that I need to feel. And I'll tap in and tune into my body as well and ask it, what is it that I'm supposed to feel today? What is it that what is it that I'm not feeling? Because all too often when we're going 100 miles an hour, we're not even in touch with what we're feeling. And feelings are our indicators, right? They're very valuable. We've been taught in this society that feelings have no value, and it's the exact opposite. They are huge valuable to kind of tune in to what's going on inside, right? So if I sit there and I sit with it for a while, I get quiet. What is it I'm supposed to feel? It's amazing kind of what bubbles up. And if nothing bubbles up, I write that down and I move on. Nothing bubbled up today. Oh, well, what the fuck, I was a very angry person for a very long time, and anger is just like poison to the body. And anger is not inherently bad, but it's when we sit there and we seethe and we stay in that anger is the really the sick part. And so now, I can get it out of, stupid blankety blank, 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 and let myself feel it. And then usually under the anger is some sort of sadness. And I let myself feel that. And then I write in my journal and I move on. The other thing that you could do with that is shake it off. And I will stand up and literally shake it off. Like if you think about it, when was the last time you saw like some wild animals, maybe some ducks in the park, get into a kerfuffle, right? And then they go their separate ways and then they shake it off and then they're fine, right? Like energetically, we know, it was my stepson. Anytime we got into an argument and he'd be like, look, I'm shaking, like it was a bad thing. And I'm like, great, that's your nervous system moving through the energy. Like that's awesome. Allow that to happen, because when we shut that stuff off is when it gets stuck. So shaking, meditate, journaling. Also within 30 minutes of getting up, I try to at least take just a few minutes, put my bare feet on the ground. Concrete works, asphalt does not. Concrete works, bare feet on the ground, or touching a tree, just to help ground back into the earth, which is our battery. And looking in the general direction of the sun, because when the sunlight hits our eyes and it stimulates our pineal gland, it also helps reset our circadian rhythm. So those folks of you out there that have really hard time sleeping, like for the next 2 weeks, I want you to get out there first sunlight and look in the direction of the sun and see if that doesn't help set your circadian rhythm up better for the rest of the day and have better sleep at night. Like I double dog dare you, try it 2 weeks. Make sure you journal, take notes. Shake it off. Oh yeah, that's the other reason. I'm a sensitive person, and conflict has a tendency to stick to me. And then a lot of times I'm carrying around other people's energy, which I definitely shouldn't be. So make sure to, like I said, shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. All these little things that I'm talking about, literally you could do. Shake it off for 30 seconds, right? Look in the general direction of the sun, and get your feet on the ground. That could be 5 minutes. Meditating, I usually try to do between 10 and 20 minutes. Journaling, I try to take another 5 minutes. Make sure, so here's another everyday thing, at least 20 minutes of walking a day. Our body needs movement, and if you're not moving your lymph, you're not detoxing. And I know some people, you're really sick and you're like, I can't do 20 minutes, then start off with 5. Right? Start off with 2. Start off wherever you're at, but trying to make it a daily habit. And, do some habit stacking. Do it while you're outside, right? Take for a walk outside. That way you're getting fresh vitamin D, fresh air, plus the movement to help your body detox. Setting up these everyday foundational things is going to be what keeps you from relapsing in the future and getting more sicknesses on top of it. We've got to get back to the foundation. Movement, even though it's 5 days, making sure you're drinking half your body weight in ounces of clean filtered water. If you need suggestions around that, please let me know. I have some awesome people that I've partnered with. I've done a ton of research in this department. So very confident. I switched out my shower filters. When I take a bath, I make sure to just take my shower filter off, my shower head off, and lay it down, and I fill up my bathtub with the shower filter, from the water that I drink. I have a little personalized ozone thingy that I'll use to clean the air. What else? Making sure you're rotating your diet, cutting out inflammatory foods, eating organic, pasture-raised, wild-caught food when you can is huge. Cutting out inflammatory foods. Grains, dairy are some of the most inflammatory foods out there. I've run so many labs, and I can show you how it's affecting your brain and how it's affecting your gut. And these large proteins, especially in grains, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of grains and seeds were meant to be eaten and then pass through the digestive system whole. So then that animal poops it out and then starts a new plant. So it's really, really hard on the digestion. We're not processing these foods properly for good digestion, and they're causing a lot of havoc to begin with. So those are the big bads. Corn, dairy, grain. First thing off the bat, get rid of those things. It'll be amazing how much better you feel. A lot of pain that you'll get out of. Your brain fog will go way down. But don't take my word for it. Again, do an experiment for a month. But again, if you need suggestions, because there are some nuances with it, things to look out for that could set you up for some sabotage, not knowing it. Let me know, reach out. What else? I always make sure to get my somatic experiencing exercises in every day, a couple times a day, to really keep my nervous system in the rest and digest and not the fight or flight. Do you know when we have negative feelings, negative thoughts, we're rushing, anxious, it actually changes our body chemistry. So when we have a negative thought towards ourselves, towards anybody else, towards anything else, oh, this program's not going to work. I've spent already so much money. I'm going to be sick for the rest of my life. That shit actually sends a cascade of hormones, adrenaline, cortisol to rise. It actually has physiological effects on the body. Think about how powerful the mind is. Think about something that turns you on. Think about somebody sexy that really gets you revved up. Tell me you don't experience a physical response to that thought. There's been research showing athletes putting these like stuff on their head to measure their brain waves and having them do the same exercises in their brain like they would in person, and they're watching a lot of the same muscles and areas fire up like if they were actually going through it. So when I'm talking about this, it's not in like the way of toxic, spiritual bypassing, right? Because that's a bunch of bullshit. Just faking it until you're making it, and just, I'm sad. Oh no, I can't be sad. No, I'm really happy. But you're really fucking sad. Allow yourself to be sad. Feel it. Just don't live there, right? That's the key. We got to get in tune with our emotions. They're telling us something is going on, right? And when we squash that with this fake positivity, that's what'll get you in trouble. And staying in the negativity too long. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, there are physiological things that happen to our body when we stay in that toxic soup, negative thoughts, looping for too long. There's also physical things that can contribute. So like when I did my DNA test, I found out that I actually have stuff in my DNA that sets me up to make a mountain out of molehills and to be more susceptible to be anxious. But that doesn't mean that just because that's in my genetics that it has to be expressed or it gets expressed that way. There's a lot of things that I do set up to keep that from getting expressed, right? Or having too many issues with that. So it was just a nice like, oh, by the way, or if you've got pyrrole disorder, that could very well lead you to having more anxiety and depression. If like tags on clothes are like super itchy and certain textures and mouth feels, you have, fatigue and a lot of anxiety, could be signed towards pyrrole disorder. And you'll definitely want to, take care of that as well as this other stuff, because it's not going to get better on its own. A lot of this stuff will never just get better on its own. That's why we kind of have to look at the whole picture and put all these pieces in together. And I have so many people, and I was that person that was so great at taking the supplement, all right, switching my diet, going for that walk. But when it came to like doing the deeper work, right? Getting the nervous system calmed down, doing the brain training rework, the breath work, the meditation, the slowing down. I always had a freaking excuse. Well, I'm a mom and I work and I don't have time, blah, 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 blah. And then I would crash and burn again. And then I would crash and burn again. So after a while, I finally said, okay, I'm done spending all this time, all this money just to crash and burn. So maybe I'll set myself up for success this time, right? Same thing with cooking, getting to learn how to cook and plan and prepare. That didn't happen overnight. It starts off with making sure I'm planning a couple meals a week. And then I added a few more. And then I added a few more. And then now I've got this system down. And yes, it's a lot of work sometimes. And yeah, it can be kind of a pain in the ass. And there are some days where I'm just like freaking tired and I don't want to deal with it. But I know what happens if I don't deal with it. I allow myself to get hungry, and then I make bad food choices, poor food choices that causes me to be in pain and inflamed and brain fogged, constipated for the next week or two. So I set myself up first. It's one of the things that I had to learn, many, about getting better from a chronic illness is you have to learn how to put yourself first. You have to learn how to say no. You have to learn how to take things off your plate. I do like to have Wonder Woman in the background, but I think even Wonder Woman knows her limitations. And no is a complete sentence. There's things that I would love to go to that I've had to say no to, or other opportunities that just seemed amazing, but also knew that it was just not the right time because I'm in the middle of trying to heal myself. Without your health, nothing else matters. So that's a part of the stuff during the day. And then I'm set for the day. And then bedtime, whole nother set of rituals, right? A couple hours before bed, make sure to turn off all the lights in the house, or also get special lighting, more red, warm colors, not blue green, because blue green actually stimulates your body and keeps you from producing melatonin. I wear my blue blocking glasses when I watch TV at night. I get off my devices. Make sure the temperature in the house is down 68 degrees, because that's another indicator to the body. Hey, it's time for bed when the temperature drops, right? More of those natural rhythms, because when the sun drops, usually the temperature drops. Just because we have all this artificial light doesn't mean that we're supposed to be up till 2 o'clock. There are certain physiological things that happen in your body only when you're sleeping and only during certain times of the night. And so if you stay up too late, you're missing out on prime detoxification, especially of the brain. If you've got brain issues, brain fog, sleep, you're going to really want to get that dialed in. Like, period, end of story. Do not pass go. Like, constipation and sleep are two things you really got to get under control if you want to get healthy and stay healthy. I think I have rambled long enough. That was a lot of tidbits, but I just kind of wanted to give you a look into my day to show you, what's possible, right, with time. My kids are out of the house now, so it is a little bit easier. I'll admit it was harder to put some of this stuff into place when I had kids at home. And I still ended up finding a way, whether it's, asking for more help from my partner. And if I had a partner that wasn't very helpful, I actually didn't stay with that person for very long. That's why my ex-husband is my ex-husband. Toxic relationships is another big area in your life to look at. Do you have a good support system? Do you have friends, family? Humans, we are community animals. We were wired to be that way. And a lot of this lone wolf isolated stuff is actually a trauma response. We need people, whether you like it or not. And the people you have surrounding you are going to be the biggest indicator on whether you fail or succeed when it comes to getting healthy. Do you have people who support you and cheerlead you on, or do you have people who bring you down and are toxic? I recently, within the past since 2020, I haven't spoken to my mother, and since 2021, I haven't spoken to my father. And I have 3 sisters I no longer speak to because they were toxic. And there was no really reasoning it out. There was no, I'm not saying just to cut people off. Like, if people want to meet me in that fire and actually have a conversation, take responsibility for their actions, I take responsibility for mine, that's a completely different football game. But full-on bullies who just want to tear you down, call you names, like, I don't have time for that in my life. And it took a couple years, actually, and I was pretty lonely after I started kind of cutting out people in my life. And now the space that it opened up, my new husband, absolutely incredible. A lot of my new friends that I've met over the past couple years, absolutely incredible. Not saying we don't get into tiffs or misunderstandings, because that's just blah blah bullshit. Like, that's not real. Life is dark and light, right? The sooner we accept that those are different sides on the same coin, we can learn to accept it, right? I also have a hard time of not holding on to when things are good. I have a tendency to I gotta hold on to this. Like, what did I do to make all that good happen? And even feeling that verklempt, right? That shut off. That's going to keep more good from coming into your life. Like, we got to let it, okay, it is what it is, right? Whether it's good or it's bad. And blessing it all. Because, man, I've learned way more from the bad than I did from the good. I don't know about you. So that's, like I said, a little bit of my rambling and kind of what I do on a daily basis, just to look into my day with chronic illness and how I keep myself healthy, happy, and full of life, full of joy. I also do the bioenergetic work. I'm actually running some codes on myself now, and then I also take my drops, also take my supplements. I'll do some tapping every now and then if I'm really feeling stuck or not even, really being able to get to my feelings. Sometimes that could help bring stuff up. If you want more information on that, let me know. But that's about it in a nutshell. So if you want to learn more and go deeper into what I've done to help overcome 27 years of undiagnosed Lyme disease, bowl toxicity, reverse 2 out of 3 of my autoimmune diseases, lose over 80 pounds, get my brain back, get my body back, get out of pain, get energy, and enjoying life to the fullest, give me an email. Look me up on my website, Heather at thelymeboss.com or www.thelymeboss.com. But either way, start off with a free discovery call. Let's find out if what I do will be a fit for you. Stay tuned.